Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Conference1 of the World Journalists Conference 2025 will be beginning. As you're already seated, I will have to ask you to seat. Only English and Korean will be spoken for this conference, and if you want simultaneous interpretation, for English, please turn to channel 1. For Korean, please turn to channel 2. Thank you. My name is Joo-hee Lee. I'm the managing editor of the Korea Herald, and I am the moderator of Conference1. And it is a great pleasure to chair today's conference about shaping the future of journalism in the AI media era, copyright and ethical challenges with great journalists from all over the world. As mentioned before, the theme of Conference1 is shaping the future of journalism in the AI media era, copyright and ethical challenges. AI journalism brings undeniable advantages such as easing of our workload and supporting data-driven reporting and arming the press to deliver sharper, faster, and more accurate stories to audiences. But beneath the dazzling promises of innovation lies a minefield of challenges. AI training heavily relies on news content, but tech giants and industry leaders often turn a blind eye to increasing copyright concerns. Meanwhile, the spread of misinformation, driven by data manipulation and unchecked algorithms, is becoming a great social and ethical issue. Like I said, the ethical concerns require swift and decisive solutions, but the discussion often gets sidetracked by political strife or other domestic or international issues. At this conference, we'll dissect how AI is reshaping journalism across borders, uncover strategies to harness its potential responsibly, and engage in discussions on what must be prepared for the future. First, let me introduce you to our distinguished speakers for today. Starting from my left is Mr. Hwang Seok-ha, staff reporter at Busan from Korea. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you. Next is Ms. Yan Chao, journalist from China Daily. Next, we have Ms. Natalia SZEWCZAK, a journalist at Business Insider from Poland. Last but not least, we have Ms. Diana Fuentes, Executive Director at Investigative Reporters and Editors in the US. The presentations will follow the order. I will let you know who speaks first. And you have about 15 minutes to speak, so you can take your time to deliver your presentations. And after all the presentation, speakers will share their opinions on each other's presentation. You can ask questions, give additional comments, and then we will take the discussion to the floor so that all of you can also ask questions or make comments that you would wish to make. Okay, so let us start with Ms. Yan Chao. Okay, thank you.
Morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that is changing our world, AI. Artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT and the popular DeepSeek, is everywhere now, and journalism is no exception. Imagine having a super smart helper that can gather information, write drafts, and even create videos for you. Sounds great, right? But just like any powerful tool, AI comes with its own set of challenges. Let's start with some good stuff. AI can do amazing things. In Kunshan, East China's Jiangsu province, the police use AI to catch criminals. I made a report that the police had a case where someone was cheated out of nearly 1 million yuan. The AI team traced the money in just 10 minutes and stopped half of it from being transferred. They even called the suspects. That is the power of AI. It can analyze data faster than any human and help solve complex cases that might otherwise go unsolved. But AI is also being used for bad things. Many cases have shown that AI can be dangerous if it falls into wrong hands. It can be used to create fake identities, manipulate images, and even spread false information. And it is not just about crime. AI is also causing problems with people's rights. There was a case in Beijing where a voice actor's voice was copied without her permission. Her voice was used in audiobooks, and she didn't even know. The court ruled that this was a violation of the rights. Imagine someone using your voice or face without asking. That's a big deal. It is illegal. AI is also used in journalism to create multimedia content. Tools that generate images based on explanatory text are becoming popular. These tools can produce high-quality visuals to appeal to broader audience, but this also raises concerns about authenticity of the content. With AI, it is easier to create deepfakes and manipulate audio-visual content which can spread misinformation. Now, let's focus on journalism. AI can be a huge help. It can read drafts, suggest headlines, and even find interesting angles for stories. For example, AI can help journalists to transcribe interviews quickly, saving time and effort. It can also tailor content to individuals' readers' preference, increasing online views. I use AI in my work as well. Sometimes I ask it to provide me with some headlines of a story, as in this way, I could choose a better one that not only summarizes the report, but also more attractive to readers. Well, sometimes I also talk about some hot issues with the tool, such as cyberbullying, juvenile crimes, and even AI itself, trying to discover more angles for my reports and learn more about opinions from others. When I benefit more from it, I more realize that AI can also mess things up. First, it might use or spread outdated information, data, and pictures, because some AI systems are not good enough to learn new things or cannot be updated in a timely manner. If a journalist just relies on AI to collect information and report, there will be easy fix old news. Second, AI poses significant challenges to news copyright. AI systems often scrape large amounts of data from the internet for training, including copyright news content. This practice may infringe on the rights of copyright holders, as it is involved unauthorized use of their intellectual property. The legal battles over AI's use of copyright material highlight the tension between technology innovation and the protection of creators' rights. If AI-generated content is deemed to infringe on copyright, it could lead to stricter regulations that might stifle AI developments, while also ensuring fair compensation for content creators. Third, AI-generated news has the potential to create and disseminate misinformation. With the ability to produce deepfakes and other forms of the sensitive content, AI can be used to manipulate news stories, making it difficult for the public to distinguish between real and fake information. This not only undermines the credibility of news organizations, but also poses the right to the democratic process by spreading false narratives. The ease with which AI can generate convincing content raises concerns about the potential for malicious actors to exploit these technologies to fraudulent or harmful purposes. In conclusion, the application of AI in journalism brings numerous potential risks, including the spread of the false information, information manipulation, and news copyright disputes. These risks not only affect the authenticity and credibility of news, but also pose a rise to social trust and public safety. Therefore, the journalism industry must be more careful when using AI, ensuring the accuracy and authenticity of the content while protecting the public's right to information and privacy. So, what do we do? I think newsrooms need rules for using AI. We cannot let AI replace human judgments. My suggestion is that we must double-check AI-generated content really carefully to make sure it is accurate before publishing. We also need to be honest about when we use AI. If an article is partly written by AI, we should say so. And if some facts, figures, and pictures come from other news outlets, we must clarify the information to respect others' efforts, as well as to maintain the order of the journalism. We need to balance using AI with protecting people's rights. All the bottom line of the AI application is that we cannot infringe upon others' reputation, privacy, and image. A number of court cases in Beijing have shown that how AI-generated content harm others. To address the problems, China has taken some actions. China's Cyberspace Administration has already issued some rules to regulate the AI application while promoting its development. In 2023, for example, the authority jointly released measures for managing generative AI services with other 6 departments, drawing of a bottom line for those providing such services to safeguard national security and public interest. The measures clarify that AI-generated content must not subvert state power nor involve terrorism and violence and some discrimination information, as is anything that may disturb economic and social order. This month, the administration has also worked with several ministries to issue another regulation requiring content generated by AI should be marked to help users easily distinguish the AI-powered information from the cyberspace. But it is not just about rules. We also need to educate ourselves and each other, and we need more research on AI industry to seek lines or boundaries on what we should do and how to do. In early March, China concluded its annual most important event, 2 sessions, the meetings of the country's top legislative body and top political advisory body. During that period, a number of national lawmakers and political advisors, including many legal experts, have called for more research on AI regulations, rules, or even laws. Meanwhile, I think we need more international cooperation to deal with these new challenges. We need to have more discussion on how to promote the technological development while regulating its application. As journalists in the fast-developing information age, we have to catch up the pace of the technologies and understand more about AI. We need to know how it works, how it can help us, and how it can hurt us. We need to stay informed and keep learning, because if we don't, we might end up spreading misinformation or violating people's rights. Ladies and gentlemen, AI is changing how we do journalism. It can make us more efficient, but it also brings some risks. We need to use AI wisely, check our facts more carefully, and protect people's rights. By doing this, I believe we can make sure AI helps us do better journalism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chow, on her presentation on AI and journalism, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Next, we will invite Mr. Seok-ha to deliver his presentation about journalism in the AI era, the intersection of efficiency, ethics, and copyright.
Hi, everybody. So, welcome to Korea, and I'm very happy to be here. So, my name is Seok-ha, and I am a journalist at Busan Daily News. Busan Ilbo is daily newspaper in South Korea. And so right now, I am covering some business stories, like a finance story, and just like cryptocurrency or blockchain industry. And it's truly my honor to meet such a wonderful journalist like you. So to be honest, my use AI is not that impressive or advanced, so it's not that like investigative story, but I guess it's still meaningful to exchange our idea and my experience. And also, I'm going to talk about two serious problems. The first one is ethics, and the second one is copyright. So, as you may know, AI is definitely changing our work, especially in journalism. So we are facing ethical and legal questions. So we should handle this kind of things. So my speech will focus on this part. All right. First of all, so my first real experience using AI in journalism began in 2023, not long after ChatGPT was released. So at that time, I was covering international news. So there were two major events in the world. The first thing was Russian invasion of Ukraine was still ongoing, and second one is there was big earthquake in Turkey. So there were so many stories about two events, and it was pouring. And so one of my job was just translate those foreign news stories. So to write my story, sometimes I need to cite some foreign news stories. So I used the ChatGPT as my personal translator. So it was very nice. Translation was very good. So basically English, not only English, like sometimes Japanese or Chinese or any other languages. It was amazing. So that was my first time to use ChatGPT in my reporting. But I started using AI more seriously when I returned to my newsroom after a year-long fellowship in the United States. So last year, I participated in the Humphrey Fellowship Program, which is sponsored by State Department of the United States. And so I went back to my newsroom, and then I assigned to sports desk. So basically, I need to cover pro baseball in South Korea. And then, I'm from Busan, so there's one baseball team, Lotte Giants. So I need to write a story about Lotte Giants. So maybe you should know this. So in Busan, Lotte Giants is just not baseball team. It's more than baseball team. So if you go to Busan, especially SZEWCZAK Stadium, you might be pretty amazed because people in Busan are very passionate, but they are very enthusiastic about baseball. So honestly, some of our leaders they do much knowledge than I. And sometimes I wrote about Lotte Giants, and I met some pretty strong reaction, even including fierce criticism if I wrote something wrong. So whenever I wrote Lotte Giants, I felt some kind of sense of pressure, things like that. And at first, it was really challenging to me. The fans of Lotte Giants, they knew everything. So they analyze players' statistics, or they know team strategy, or even lineup decision. So so I have to analyze that Lotte Giants and players with data, with numbers. So basically, baseball is the sport of number. There were so many records and there are so many statistics. So of course, I know basic baseball rules, but I didn't have enough background knowledge to analyze players' statistics or their strong points. So reporters sometimes they rely on detailed data to create a meaningful story, right? So simply I go to KBO's website and I obtain some data, but it was so hard to me at first because most of it was English abbreviation. And so when I saw it first, it just looked like just meaningless alphabet and numbers. So finally, here's some example. For example, ABG means batting average. So, I'm Korean, so English is my second language. So at first, I didn't know what that meant. And AB means at bat. This one is easy. HR means home runs. SO means strike out. Yeah, these are some easy, but this one is tricky. WHIP means walks and hit per inning pitched. I didn't even know what that means at first. So finally, I decided to use ChatGPT. I uploaded a screenshot of player, and I asked that ChatGPT to explain the numbers. So for example, I asked the ChatGPT to analyze Victor Reyes, the Giants cleanup hitter. So here's what it told me in summary. Victor Reyes is a precision hitter who posted a 3.52 batting average with 202 hits, playing a key role in Lotus lineup with a 3.95 batting average with runners in scoring position and a 501 slugging percentage. However, his relatively low home run total of 15 leaves something to be desired in terms of power per cleanup hitter, and his low walk count of 46 suggests a need to improve his on-base percentage. So that is AI's analysis about Lotte Giants hitter. So it was so amazing to me. So definitely it was big help, especially on deadline. But as journalist Chao said, we need to fact check about this. So sometimes AI makes mistakes. So that's what we call hallucination. So I just check the numbers and if AI analysis is correct. So I always need, so in this case, we need always checking fact using official sources. So my next topic is ethics. So definitely AI helps us. So it saves time, boosts efficiency, and opens up new possibilities in storytelling and data analysis. But just like any other powerful tools, we need some clear guideline or some rules to use it responsibly. So last year, during my fellowship, I had the opportunity to work at the Arizona Republic for a month. Yeah, so that newspaper is kind of one of the largest local newspaper in the United States, and it was owned by media group Gannett. So Gannett also publishes USA Today, and they have taken proactive steps about AI to use it to credibly and responsibly. So luckily, I got a glimpse of it during my time there. So let me share some key points from their policy. The first, be transparent. Let readers know if AI was used in the reporting, writing, or production process. Transparency builds trust. Second, always verify information. AI can assist in gathering data or drafting text, but it is not a reliable source in itself. Third, be fair. Journalists must be mindful of bias and discrimination that may be embedded in AI tools. And fourth, take responsibility. Journalists are fully accountable for all content, whether created with AI or not. There is no shifting or blame. Finally, use AI generative visual with caution. AI generated images are not allowed in news coverage unless they are clearly labeled and formally approved to avoid misleading the audience. So I believe this kind of policy can protect quality journalism and credibility and responsibility. But so because AI can support journalism, but it should never replace editorial judgment or ethical responsibility. So, of course, I'm not saying Ghana's AI policy is perfect or it should be seen as ultimate model for everyone. But however, it offers us some valuable insight and inspiration, especially newsrooms that don't have this kind AI policy. So in my newsroom, we recently formed internal dedicated team to explore and to develop AI policies. So we need clear guideline and rules to use it ethically and responsibly. Okay, so my last topic was copyright. Who owns the news? So this is another important issue when it comes to AI. So maybe you know in the United States, New York Times sued OpenAI because they insist that OpenAI is using their content without permission. So in South Korea, we also have similar concerns. So many believe that AI companies are using news contents without fair compensation. So in February, the Korean Newspaper Association submitted a proposal to National Assembly. They asked for two major changes. The first one is AI companies must disclose their training data. And second one is news should be clearly protected under copyright law. So they also plan to report companies like Naver. Naver is the biggest portal website in South Korea. Naver, Google, and OpenAI to the Fair Trade Commission. So their main argument is this. If AI uses news to train its models, news organization must be paid. Without that, the future of journalism is at risk. So here's my conclusion. To wrap up, AI is a powerful tool. Nobody can deny this. It helps us work faster and smarter. Even its analyzation is much better than human beings sometimes. And it's so good at summarization. But we must also protect the truth and fairness and journalistic integrity, the value of our work. So that's why ethics and the copyright matter so much. So as journalists, we must lead the way and set strong standards. That's how we protect journalism in the age of AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hwang, on your presentation on journalism in the AI era, the intersection of efficiency, ethics, and copyright. Next, we will invite Ms. Natalia SZEWCZAK to deliver her presentation titled "Do Not Lose Hope, Remain Vigilant, the Future of Journalism in the AI Era." Please give her a round of applause before she... Thank you.
안녕하세요. 저는 폴란드에서 온 비즈니스 인사이더 폴스카 기자 나탈리아 셰프차크입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. I'm still learning Korean, so I hope you'll forgive me, and I will be speaking in English from now on. My name is Natalia SZEWCZAK. I come from Poland, and I work at Business Insider Polska. This is the Polish edition of Business Insider, and it's really a true honor to be here. Let me start right now. It was December 2020, Christmas. At 4 a.m., I suddenly found myself at the hospital. At this time, I was pregnant with twins, Lena and Philip. They were born a few hours later. They were born 3 months, 1 day prematurely, and the day of their birth remains the most terrifying day of my life. I have never been so scared. I was then. Immediately after birth, my children were placed on ventilators in intensive care, and no one could predict what would happen next. Everything could have happened then. Everything. From the very first second of their lives, Lena and Philip fought for survival. They spent 65 days in the hospital, but they won. Today they are healthy 4 years old. And probably you may be wondering why I am sharing this story at a conference about shaping the future journalism in the AI era. And I will tell you why. Because this event, the birth of my premature children led to the change in the law in Poland. Over a year ago, my personal experiences inspired me to write an article. In it, I described the Polish absurd law that robbed parents of premature babies of maternity leave. Instead of having more time to care their children and focus on their healing, they were given less. For nearly 20 years, no journalists, no politicians in Poland had paid attention to this issue. To make long story short, after the publication of my article, a kind of magic happened. NGOs and other media took action, and the Polish government removed this absurdity and changed the law. I also received the Grand Press Award for this article, Poland's most important and prestigious journalism award. But the most important part is this. 12 days ago, just 12 days ago, on March 19th, a new law came into the force in Poland. Parents of premature babies now have up to 15 more weeks of maternity leave than parents of full-term children. This is a really significant and very, very important change for tens of thousands of Poles. And this article, which led to the change in the law, could never have been written by artificial intelligence. AI would not have noticed the absurdity in the law. AI would not have been able to change the law for the better. This article, for me, and I hope for all of you fellow journalists, is a proof, an example, and a symbol of a hope that there always will be a place for true, reliable, and in-depth journalism. We will always be needed, even in the age of artificial intelligence. Or perhaps especially so. You are probably hearing this story from Poland for the first time, but undoubtedly each of you knows the Watergate scandal, one of the most famous political scandals in history, which led to the resignation of American President Richard Nixon. Had it not been for journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein for the Washington Post and their investigation, we might never have heard of Watergate. Can anyone here imagine AI conducting such an investigation or something remotely similar? The answer is clear, no. It is the journalists who will tell us what is being overlooked and hidden. AI cannot do that. AI cannot achieve that. Artificial intelligence will not meet the informants and gain their trust. AI will not uncover secret documents hidden in the drawer. AI will not attend a press conference and ask the Prime Minister or President a difficult question. Therefore, I'm quite optimistic. Artificial intelligence will not replace the core of journalism. However, AI can be tremendous help to us. One example in the use of AI in data analysis, where algorithms can quickly process vast amounts of information, identifying key trends and other anomalies. AI tools help journalists to transcribe interviews, as you said, structure data from massive volumes of documents, organize them, and extract the relevant information. In practice, this means that journalists can create more efficiently and quickly. They can also focus more on more complex aspects of their work. Journalists assisted by AI have the opportunity to become super journalists. Journalists supported by AI can become super journalism. However, there is no doubt that with the increasing popularity of AI, there are also growing risks. Among them are those related to the potential manipulation of public opinion through algorithms that can easily and cheaply create fake news and deepfakes. Artificial intelligence-based technologies, when misused, can contribute to the spread of misinformation, reinforce prejudice, and erode journalistic standards. In Poland, where the political and media landscape is very polarized, the ethical use of AI becomes especially important. But this problem affects practically every country, especially when we look at the global geopolitical situation. The war in the Ukraine, the situation on the Korean Peninsula, or the massive changes in US politics. We must also remember that the AI algorithms, which are based on data patterns and user behavior, can deepen media fragmentation, leading to the creation of information bubbles, which will only further intensify existing political divides. So, what we should do to prevent this? First, AI-generated products should not be published without human oversight, because there is a risk of generative AI hallucination, which means situations where AI models generate information based on false data. Second, the media should implement AI transparency rules to build public trust and combat misinformation. Media organizations should take responsibility for ensuring transparency in AI usage by making readers aware of the role AI plays in the production and consumption of news. This means that materials created with the help of AI should be clearly labeled. Ethical challenges should be subject to legal changes. Media industries and policymakers should jointly develop regulatory frameworks to prevent the misuse of AI in journalism. It seems that legal solutions are lagging behind technological developments, and although this race is unequal, we cannot give up without a fight. The European Union was the first in the world, followed by South Korea, to adopt the Artificial Intelligence Act. It specifies how AI models should be used and even lists what is prohibited. The regulation also introduced the obligation to label AI-generated content. But the question remains whether writing prompts is considered creative input, even if AI helps write an article. But this law not be applied until 2026, during which time AI may undergo significant changes and transform the media world. When we talk about the challenges that AI brings to the development of journalism, we cannot forget about copyright. As a rule, according to UI regulation, training AI system on data belonging to right holders is allowed, unless they explicitly forbid it. However, there are some pitfalls here. The debate on this matter in Poland, as well in the entire UA, is heated. We all know that large tech companies like Google use the work of journalists in AI training. Publishers expect Google to pay for using their content in AI training. On the other hand, tech giants like Google are increasingly trying the publishers without paying for the content created by others. From the publisher perspective, the situation is difficult because on one hand they have to face the enormous dominance of global tech giants, and on the other hand they need to ensure appropriate funding for the editorial teams. It is also worth noting that in response to these problems, legal steps are being taken in Europe to regulate the online content market and ensure a fair distribution of advertising revenues. For example, in 2019, the European Union adopted the Digital Single Market Directive, which, among other things, forces platforms like Google to sign agreements with publishers and pay them for sharing their content. But this is just one step toward ensuring greater fairness in the relationship between publishers and tech giants. In the reality of media transforming under the influence of artificial intelligence, we can see both immense challenges and invaluable opportunities. The crisis of traditional media is a topic that has come up frequently in discussion over the past few years, but in the face of the new dynamic development of artificial intelligence, its resolution may take on a completely new form. Personally, I want to believe that thanks to AI, journalism can become of even better quality. During the AI transformation, which brings, of course, many dangers, readers will know that true and reliable journalism information will not come from social media, but from traditional media, which will become a kind of compass of credibility. Artificial intelligence presents us with many dilemmas, but it also offers new possibilities. And this is perspective and approach with which we should shape the future of the media. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Ms. SZEWCZAK, on her presentation on Do Not Lose Hope, Remain Vigilant, the Future of Journalism in the AI Era. Next, we have Ms. Diana Fuentes on the new life of AI in the 21st century. Please give a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. I want to first thank JAK President Park Yong-hyun for this wonderful conference. I'm looking forward to meeting and visiting with all of you and getting some new ideas, and just the exchange of ideas is always wonderful. IRE is an organization, my Investigative Reporters and Editors group, which that's what we were built on, as a forum to exchange ideas, to exchange sources, and just to talk about things, to be able to visit with each other. A collaboration is what's really key. It's what makes the world go round. And it's a wonderful idea. This whole conference is just great. And my colleagues all have talked about different things that I agree with many of them. Yin talked a lot about, I agree with her on the assessment that journalists are more likely to lose their jobs because they don't adapt to AI than the fact that the AI would actually replace them. Many of you are, not all of you, lots of you are very young out there, but I can remember when computers took over. Some of you may remember when there were no computers in the newsroom and we all had typewriters. And the people that lost their jobs, quite frankly, were the people that refused to adapt to computers. They didn't want to learn what a mouse was. Many of you don't even know what a mouse is these days, right? But that was what happened when people didn't want to adapt to the new world. Han talked a lot about the importance of giving credit where credit is due. That's a fundamental thing about journalism. Even, yes, AI is great at aggregating, and it can go out there and search lots of things, but we still need to give credit where credit is due. We need to make a point of going out there and finding out exactly what is it, who said it, who really said it first. Attribution is key. Natalia referred to the Watergate scandal. That's one of the bases of our own organization, IRE. Len Downey, who now works at Arizona State University as a professor, was an editor at Watergate. He was there when Woodward and Bernstein first noted that weirdness. You know, AI was not going to note that these burglars out there at this building were dressed in suits. What burglar wears a suit? Well, AI was not going to notice that there were burglars wearing suits, and that one of these burglars was a full-time employee of a re-election committee of the President of the United States. Well, that's not something that shows up in aggregated columns of how many burglaries there were at where. So AI does a lot of great things, but not necessarily those kind of things that a human is going to spot. Let's see, I have some slides to go with my presentation so that I'm not too bored. I wanted to go a little bit into history, just because one of the things that we fear sometimes is the new things. AI is not new. John McCarthy, who taught at MIT and Stanford University, he coined the term artificial intelligence. The words artificial intelligence came back in the 1950s. He was a computer scientist and was talking about this way back when, and he was the one who said early on that there was such a thing as a computer. He was a scientist back then, and the idea, though, of whether machines could actually think, quote unquote, independently, came even earlier than that. Let's see here. Ada Lovelace, back in 1843, she wrote a paper, a woman, by the way, a mathematician back in the 1840s. She was a scientist herself, and she wrote about Charles Babbage had something called an analytical engine. He didn't even write the first program, she did. He did this machine because it could calculate numbers. Well, she thought, wait a minute, this thing might be able to do more. In fact, she figured out that it could interpret symbols and perform complex operations. Well, that was pretty cool. Well, people started talking way back then, oh man, this machine can think like people. And she goes, no, hold on. Not independent thought. It can only do what we tell it to do, which is what's arguing now, right? Here we are in the 2025 arguing the same thing she talked about back in 1840. So it's not new. What it is, it's a tool, like my colleagues were saying. It's a tool. It does have problems, and the arguments continue to rage today. We talk a lot about the fact that hallucinations are a problem. People are afraid of that, which I can understand. Hallucinations being an issue because they're fakes, and they're deep fakes. As we know, it can make it look awfully real. Again, that's why humans matter. Humans are the ones that can take and tell the difference. Properly used, AI tools clearly have the ability to shorten significantly the time it takes to do data processing, giving generalists more time to do creative work. That's what all tools do, right? That's what we look at. The ability to do what we do, what humans could do best, which is creative work. Ryan Serpico has 3 rules. We all offer the rules, but I like the way Ryan explains it better than most people do. Ryan works for the Hearst Corporation. The Hearst Corporation, some of you may have heard it because it is an international one. They own a lot of magazines, but they also own 24 daily newspapers, 52 weeklies, and that matters to a lot of us here. So one of the first rules Ryan has is humans. Humans need to be involved at every aspect of this, and we'll go into a little more detail here. But one of the things he talks about first is no magic. No magic. See this little cat coming out of the couch? No magic. You have to make sure, let's see, that text is that we only use for text generation should only be, as it says right there, should be only used for summarizing, aggregating. That's what text should be used for. Text generation, I mean. Secondly, there should be no secrets. Be transparent, as my colleagues have been talking about. Let people know exactly what you're doing. So, be an open book. Here's a good example. New York Times did this really good piece. Dylan Friedman talked about it at one of our IRE conferences, at one of our panels. They took this turns out that when they were going through the last time that President Trump had the election when he claimed that he had won, there were these meetings going on across the country on Zoom and Google Meet and all these groups. And they were having meetings and more meetings, lots of meetings. In this particular story, the first one, there were more than 400 hours. But when Dylan did this thing, he talked about 500 hours worth of meetings. They used AI to go through this whole thing and narrowed it down to 5 hours using prompts. The prompts were, some of them were 2,000 words long because reporters wrote detailed prompts to figure out exactly what they wanted to see, what they wanted to hear, so they could narrow it down. Because a lot of these meetings were repetitive, of course, because they were across the country. But using the prompts, they were able to get down to the meetings they wanted to see who was there at these meetings, and they narrowed it down. And then at those 5 hours, they were able to go down and narrow it all the way down and go into the nitty-gritty, the details. And at the details is where they went, and that's where the humans were able to go into it. But then they went one step further, and they explained it. They told the public, this is where the transparency came in. They detailed for the public, this was used online as well as in print, explaining the large language models they did, and they told people exactly what they did. And then they talked about how the humans went into it, and the parts that they used in the story, they went and listened themselves to make sure they had the right context, to make sure that they were using it properly, to make sure that it wasn't misinterpreted, right? To make sure that AI didn't get it wrong. So again, that was the key point right there. So Dylan talks about 500 hours of video reduced to about 5. This particular story refers to the 400 hours that they went through first. So the basics of ethics, that's one of the things we're talking about here. I would argue in my presentation that you have the written version there, but that when you're talking about the ethics, it's not just us, right? What we do matters, but it's also what matters in your whole building. Ethics is a global issue, and by that I don't just mean the world, I mean the world around you. Lots of times we forget that our business includes advertising, distribution, human resources. The other people in our building And I mean virtual building too, right? Because some of us work by remote. But you need to ask everybody around you what they think about AI. When you write your AI policy in your building, in your newsroom, you need to make sure that everybody is involved. Everybody has a stake in it. Everybody considers the reputation of your news outlet. You need to take the time to ask everyone around you, what do they think? And take your time. Don't rush it. Make sure everybody has a voice. Now, not everybody's going to want to talk. That's true. We know that. But you need to make sure that everybody has a chance to talk, because those people are going to be like your audience. You need to give everyone a chance to speak. That's an important aspect of it that sometimes we tend to forget. We tend to just listen to each other. The editors, right, especially, we tend to just think that we're the important ones, and our audience. But the people around us matter too. Education, I want to make sure that we talk about once you have your policy, you want to make sure you share it with the public and be willing to change if you hear something from the public that's legitimate. We all know that the public is picky right now, and they don't always trust us. But one of the reasons they don't trust us is because they don't know us. So when you decide on your ethics policy, you want to be public about it. You want to have, in the United States, we call them town halls, but a public meeting, and give the public a chance to come out and talk. Maybe 5 people show up, you don't know. Some places, the whole city will show up and want to tell you, and they will be loud and noisy. Let them rant. You're there to hear. Don't get defensive. You're there to listen and to answer questions. We need to hear them. We need to hear them. And many times it is a matter of explaining how things work. They're not going to always listen to us, right? They're not going to like the answers lots of times, but you have to give them a chance. That's our audience. It's an important thing to listen to. I want to, in trying to wrap things up here, sorry, we can go on forever, I know, on this kind of issue. When we're talking about the point of education, consider, in addition to a town hall meeting, having a series of workshops where you talk to the public about the kinds of things that you do, the kind of things that AI are used for. Take away the mystery. Explain what AI does. Yes, it's hard, and no, the whole public doesn't need to know everything. But a simple explanation, I think, might not hurt. A basic understanding of how something works may be useful. You need to know your audience, of course. Everybody understands their own audience. But I would encourage you to at least consider it where you are. A very basic understanding of what it means. For some people, AI is some massive monster out there that is making you plagiarize. It's taking the place of fakes, that kind of stuff. It helps if people know what you do. A lot of people don't know what we do. I think it's important for them to understand what it is for the life of a reporter. A simple explanation of what we do for a living. Sometimes just a little bit of explanation to the public helps. So I wanted to bring that up to you all and have a discussion. I think it would be a lively discussion among all of us. We all have different kinds of audiences. We all have different thoughts, I think. But at the heart of it, when we all go about it, the very basis of journalism is democracy. We are the foundation of democracy. We are here because we want to educate our people wherever we are. It is our belief that the public, the people, have a right to know what their government is doing. That's what we do for a living. And many of us have had colleagues who sacrificed their lives for this. And we're here because of them and because we believe in what we do. It's a passion for us. And I encourage all of us to continue what we do. And I honor each and every one of you who do all these sacrifices every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes. Just to recap, I'm sure the conclusion of all the presentations can be wrapped into this, how there are pros in incorporating AI into our work. There are also ethics, copyright issues, and all the other issues that need to be addressed together, internationally even. for that to work to enhance the role of journalism rather than to lower the duty of journalism. Ms. Chow talked about the newsroom, how newsroom needs rules on AI and how there needs to be international cooperation. And the statement she said, one of the statements that she said that stuck out to me was that Ms. Fuentes also mentioned how those who will be eliminated are those that merely rely on AI and lack their own critical thinking. Mr. Hwang gave us a play-by-play example of how he used AI in his baseball reporting. He also shared with us the examples of how US publisher Gannett has made in AI use and the regulations. And he talked about the growing need for clear legal frameworks to regulate AI use of copyrighted news. He also shared the moves in Korea, how we are moving in terms of protecting our content. And then Ms. SZEWCZAK gave us a very inspiring story by sharing her personal story and how that grew into a tremendous movement in her country, in Poland, and how that even led to a change in law. It's a tremendous story. Thank you for sharing us. And she gave us basically hope of why the role of journalism still exists and why it is still important. There will always be a place for true, reliable, and in-depth journalism. So thank you for that. She also mentioned the dilemma faced by publishers, how we are facing the domination of tech giants, but then we also have to, make a living, so to speak, just to be frank, make revenue and keep, the operation going. So the dilemma that the publishers also face is also an important issue that I think we should touch on. And Ms. Fuentes kind of wrapped up the speeches for me, so thank you for that. And she specifically talked about the very important need to educate, share, discuss with the public. I think that is ultimately what we need to do down the road. Without that, our existence will be further challenged. As you know, Korea is going through political turmoil. And the martial law decree, I'm sure you're all very well aware of, in December, I think had a very different, showed a varying impact of what journalism has been doing and what it can do. Because as you know, the deep polarization of the different political spectrums was ignited and was aggravated through fake news, through spread of news that are not certified or verified. And I think in a way, it kind of shows the very declining trust towards traditional journalism, but it also kind of gives us the direction that, when you're bombarded by all these fake news, the news, uncredited news, you need to have somewhere you can turn to. And I think the role of traditional journalism is to kind of maintain that integrity. And like Ms. Fuentes said, educate, promote that to the public so that they know that we're there, that we are still here. So I will give each speaker several more minutes if you would like to make comments regarding other people's presentations or your own, or pose a question. Mr. Hwang, maybe you should go first.
Oh, okay. So we need to talk about this more openly because, so as I said, in my newsroom and many local newspapers in South Korea are early stage. They are in the early stage of developing AI policies. So people are really, especially reporters they are pretty confused sometimes. And so practical framework is still lacking. So maybe internationally, we are all have same this kind of problems. So in this case, we need to talk more and exchange our ideas and thinking. So definitely that will make our journalism much better. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think that is very fascinating lectures from other colleagues, and also great that is education on AI industry is very important. That's why we are here, and to share the opinions and views and our personal experience when we use AI in our work. And I'm very fully agree with the Mr. And she said that is we need to the keywords is tell the people the transparency, that is tell the people how AI works, and we need to, the newsrooms also need the AI policy, and it's not our journalists, our own job, it also involves everyone, and it still take time. That is in China, there is a lot of Chinese experts, including the internet and the legal experts, professors, and some enterprises, and they also share their opinions on how to regulate AI when we're promoting this technology. And so it takes time because some rules, regulations, and even laws, and they need much time to do that. But we should take action, and also the last is sharing the opinion is also very important, and I would really like to talk with every one of you to share our opinions and have a discussion on this issue. Thank you.
First of all, thanks to Lee Jae-hee for your comment. And you were talking about material law in Korea from December. And I wonder, does any boss, any executive during this time would send to the protest to cover the story, journalist or AI? The answer is clear, but I was hearing you and I wrote three most important, I think, topics that we are all talking about. The first, it was checking information after AI communication, after AI information, because as we said, there is quite popular, unfortunately, AI hallucination, the false data, and we cannot be sure that AI information is correct. It is the very important part, and it is another evidence that we always be needed. The second, every of us said that our editorial offices, our newspapers, our magazines should inform our readers, should inform our viewers that we use in a part even AI or AI tools. For example, my company, this is Business Insider Polska, this is the part of one of the biggest media company in Poland. We use AI tools. For example, we have one of tools which can show the articles on our website, or even it can read articles. So we use it, but we inform it. And the second point for me, probably the point which we should work right now is making kind of journalist work regulation, not even in the country, in the editorial offices, but the whole world specific regulation. And we should know about them, journalists, but also people, they should know what we can do and what we cannot do. And I think then they will have more trust for our work. And this is also the problem, this is also the conversation that which media cover is better, from traditional media, from television, or from TikTok or Instagram. And this was very inspiring. So one more time, thank you.
That's true. I'm wondering, I'd like to ask my colleagues, and if you all will approach me too afterward to see, I'd like to know, IRE is a training organization. That's what we do. We train people. I'd like to know whether you all think that we've kind of been assuming everybody knows a lot about AI. Do we need more training among ourselves about AI? Would that be useful, do you think? Should we be looking at training people, reporters and editors, you know, we're all ages right now. I wonder, sometimes we're assuming people know how to use AI and what to do. Do you all think that do we need to teach people more about that? I think the public needs to know more, honestly, but do you all see a value in that, in doing that?
For me, is very important. My company regularly make kind of training about AI because every day we have new tools. In next week we have new tools, and I think this is only beginning of this path about AI tools in journalism. I don't know what kind of tools do you use, but in my editorial office, in my company, it's quite big because Springer is in Switzerland, United States also, and Germany. We got new tools about AI every week, every month.
And they give you training? You get
Yes.
regular training? That's
Yes.
cool. How
We,
about,
we have a kind of a department about AI,
Yeah.
and every day I can mail them, I can phone them and ask, can you help me, can you translate me for normal language?
yeah, like regular talk, I know. I was going to say, in the United States, I mean, we have a lot of international members, and so sometimes they'll ask us for help. And in the United States, we do have a lot of the big companies like that are blessed with being able, Hearst, for example, Ryan Serpico, he's in charge of AI, so they have a whole department. But there are a lot of smaller outlets, especially newspapers, that don't get that kind of help. But I'm sorry, were you going to say, Yen?
Yes, and I think that it's in where I work for China Daily, and we also first as a journalist, I think that is for individual. It's a must for journalists to learn new things. So before my department, I mean China Daily, asked us to use AI such as DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and every journalist, such as my colleagues, and they use it. They try to use such kind of AI to work, to talk with them, to do some interesting things. And second, that is in China Daily, and we also have some workshops and some lectures, and also some like the salons to have several technical colleagues and journalists, we talk about this, how to use AI to make our work and jobs more efficient. And third one is just like what you said, that is the AI training. I think that is the two sides of this issue. One is that we must learn how to use AI more wisely. I mean, that is we must use it time and time or something like that in various fields to make sure that it works, or how to improve this AI system. And second, it depends on the AI system, such as the service providers. And if we use it, and they will learn how to make it better. And because the AI systems, most of them are, the learning system is based on the big data. And if we give them more intelligent and high quality information, and that is all very good for us when we next time use that. Because if the information is high quality, and maybe next time we use it, and that will give me much better answers. That's my view.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Just to add my own
Yes,
thoughts to your
please.
question. Actually, last night I was helping my daughter with her math homework, and I could not solve the problem. And she knew how I was struggling, and she right away said, "Should we ask ChatGPT?" Mind you,
young
she's
ones.
11. So not only did it hurt my ego, but I also kind of wondered the dissemination of AI to the general public, especially the young ones. It's so fast that we could not even grasp the speed of it. And you talked about education. In terms of going back to journalism, I think knowing what AI can do, knowing how far it has developed, enhanced, is extremely important, not just to make the work more multidimensional and more data-based, but also I think education is especially important for the senior level of the newsroom, the editors, and the senior managing editors, you know, because only if you should know what it can do, how it can do, and how the young reporters are using the AI system in their work, unless you know, you cannot really ensure the transparency that we talked about. How much of AI was used in the stories? How much of it came from the reporters' brains? And how much of it came from AI? And in order to be transparent, in order to have establish a system to ensure the transparency, I think education is especially important for those in the editors level staff and members of the newsroom.
I agree. Especially, you know, we tend to forget the middle ranks, right? The middle ranks, the young folks, we know that. And of course, the bosses always hear things. But it's those of us in the middle. I was a middle manager for a long time, and they tend to forget about us. We do a lot of the work, but yeah, we need the training, and we got to be louder about making sure that they train us, that we get the training. You were going to say something, Han?
Oh yeah. So in my newsroom, unfortunately, we don't have an official training system or class about using AI. But what's that? Korea Press Foundation. So yeah, Korea Press Foundation, they offer AI training to reporters. So maybe some journalists are enrolled that kind of class individually. But yeah, so in our newsroom, there is no talk or no movement about training. But I already talked to you before. Right now we are pretty focusing on developing AI policy. So maybe we are going to have some kind of town hall meeting. So I know some reporters already use AI in their reporting. So maybe we can exchange their method or how they use AI. So yeah, so we are, as I said, we are pretty early stage. We are in pretty beginning, so that's our job to do that.
Okay, now shall we expand the discussion to the floor, and you can all participate, take part, and regarding the topic and the presentations and the questions that were posed during our panel talk. Please, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Our staff will hand you the microphone. I will point to in the order of comments. And please, before you speak, identify your nationality and affiliation before your comment. Thank you. Lady in black, please.
Hi, this is Seok-ha from Turkey. And first of all, I want to say thank you to all speakers. All speeches are very useful. And I want to raise the issue of democracy and our important role in the democracy as Ms. Fuentes take attention. And I want to ask that how can we fight with undemocratic governments or autocrat governments? As we all know, the democracy in trouble in all around the world and has some problems especially in some countries, including my country. And how can we fight against the governments or the presidencies when they use artificial intelligence in their propaganda? For example, in last elections in Turkey in 2023, the government, Turkish government, fabricated a fake video with artificial intelligence and in which the opposition candidate was in a terrorist organization like that. And all the media belongs to the government, and so they spread this fake video in artificial intelligence. So the ethics is so important, I know, but when the democracies have some troubles, also our job is getting difficult, I think. So how can we fight with this issue when they use artificial intelligence and fake videos? I want to raise this issue, and I want to ask, especially maybe Ms. Fuentes. Thank you so much.
It's difficult, obviously, right? It's very difficult. But our jobs were never easy to begin with. The main answer to that is the truth. it becomes a part of us. It makes our job longer because it takes away from our regular job. But what happens is you need to report on that and fight it back by saying, this is a lie, and showing why it's a lie. And you have to uncover it, just like any other corruption story, just like anything else that's not true. It becomes incumbent upon us to show to the public, this is fake video, this is a fake story. And it takes time, and it's going to take time away from you doing your regular news, but we have to do it because they're trying to outlast us. It's kind of like when you're doing a regular story and you're trying to do corruption story and you're chasing down the facts. And it takes a long time, and they try to fight you, and they don't want to give you the records, and you got to keep chasing and chasing and chasing, right? Because they're trying to make you wait. They're trying to outlast us. Well, we have to show them that, no, we're going to be there. And every time you turn around, we're going to be there. And you're going to show fake video, and we're going to say, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, public, it's fake. And that's all we can do. All we can do is do what it's our job, which is continue hammering back at them. They're hammering at us, we hammer back. And that's all you can really do. The thing to do, it's a matter of organization. And this is easier said than done. I know that. Please, please. I know that it's rough, especially in some of these countries where they disappear people. And I worked in Mexico, and I work with my colleagues in Mexico, for example, where some of them couldn't write at all because they were threatened. And so other people stepped in when that's possible. When I worked on the border in Mexico, we worked on the Laredo side, for example, in Texas, and our colleagues on the Nuevo Laredo side, when the drug cartels were really vicious, they couldn't report, but we could. So they would call us occasionally and say, hey, this is going on. I can't report. Okay, I will. And because I was a little safer than they were, for example, we took turns. I'll cover that story, you cover that story. That's when collaboration comes in. So maybe you all can work together with other colleagues, and maybe you can't report that story because you're under a threat, but maybe somebody else can. And then maybe that person is threatened, well then you find someone else that can do it. Because you can't give up. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to force you to stop. So you got to have someone else do it. So maybe you can't report in your country, so you find a friend among this group, for example. That's why these groups are so important. We do that in IRE. Somebody will threaten you, and so you find someone else that can report. It might not be in your country, but especially with the internet, it's a little helpful, where you find someone else to report it. So you don't get to do the story, but someone else will. But that's what you do. You have to out them, expose them. You have to expose them. That's the best I can tell you to do. We just have to keep after them. We can't let them get away with it.
Gentlemen, in the second row, please.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the presenters. It was so insightful. My name is Agauna Safa. I'm from East Africa, Ethiopia. As we all know, AI is really changing the media landscape. Everyone is worried, like not only in the journalist, but in other occupation. Does AI gonna take my job? That was everyone's headache. So this question is for Natalia. Do you have concern that the AI will replace human journalists, and how can we balance the AI efficiency and human journalist creativity? My second question is for Diana. You asked us, like, how can we, is it good to give learning about the AI tools? Yes. We have to use AI tools as a journalist because we need to cope up with the technology currently. But how can we minimize the risks that AI gonna cause? Because, for example, in Ethiopia, there are a lot of ethnic groups and political parties. If we use the cloned voice, like AI can generate those deep fake videos and sounds, that's gonna cause a lot of catastrophic damage inside on that country, like from ethnic groups to groups, or during on the political parties difference. So how can we minimize all those risks? The second question for you, Diana, is, as we all know, AI-generated contents become more prevalent. So who should legally own the rights to such contents, like the creator of AI tool or the user itself? That is the question. And also, do you have any AI tool recommendations? Any AI tool recommendations? In our newsroom, we use some AI tools in order to make our job so efficient and speedy. So if there is any recommendations, thank you.
So first me, does AI steal our job? I'm kidding that we as a journalist and even in Business Insider, we are regularly writing articles whose work AI still work. And in the rankings, there is no journalist still now. I'm a little bit afraid, yes, but I think that AI more change our work than still. If we are talking, of course, about journalists, but because there is something kind of job like media worker. My company is quite big, so we have many journalists, media workers which doing basic journalist job. For example, they were people writing about the weather. So I think this is kind of job that AI can do, and it's quite easy. It needs data about temperature, about wind, about rain. And I can tell you this story example from my company again, because in ONET, which is the business cyber, there is a part of this one of the biggest news website in Poland. We have something like night shift. So journalists during this night shift need to write a couple of articles, and few years later, one of the articles was about the weather. Now these journalists don't have to write about the weather, because articles about the weather in Poland, in many regions of Poland, are created by AI. So does AI steal our work? They change. And I hope that journalists, media workers thanks to AI, could do our work more efficient, and we will have more time for serious articles, for example, investigation journalism. Thank you.
That's good. I was going to say also, I don't know if you all have, well, in the United States it's called high school. I think in other countries it's secondary school, where people play sports. And parents are very, very interested. And that's agate, sports scores, right? The scores, Han was talking about that. Well, that's great and that's one of the jobs that AI could take away, because it's just numbers, kind of like weather. It's just numbers. But that's if somebody reports the numbers. People thought that that's something AI could take, because it's just numbers and it reports, and they can put it and it'll easily write it out, and it'll kind of like Han was finding, he could call ChatGPT and get it up. But what if nobody's reporting it? What happens in the United States is you need a human to be calling the coach, because the coach didn't turn in the numbers, because the coach lost and he doesn't want anybody to know who was there. So you have to keep calling and calling until somebody, and it's a human that has to talk to another human to find out what that is. So I still think that there's still going to be humans who need to do that. But you were asking me about something. The teaching part, it's not just to teach them how to do it, but it's to teach them that there's a lot of fake out there. So that way they know, wait a minute, I need to verify, because AI can fake me out. There is fake audio, there's fake video, but if the public doesn't know about that, we think they know, but I think a lot of the public, we're expecting them to be quick adapters, just like, well, we know about it, so they should know. No, they don't. They're busy with their lives. They're busy working, they're busy taking their kids to school, they're busy doing what they do every day. They don't know everything like we do. So teaching them isn't just to teach them how to do it. It's more to explain to them, be careful. What you see on TV, what you saw on BuzzFeed, what you saw on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, that might not be true. Because look at this fake thing. And then start going, holy cow. So that's really what we talk about teaching them. That's what it is. It's not teaching them how to make a fake story. It's really alerting the public there's a fake story out there. The other thing, I believe strongly, the creator owns it. That's who owns the stuff. Whoever made it owns it. That's what copyright is all about. Whoever created it originally owns it. There is some talk about, and we all know this, the songs are probably the best example. They take little pieces here and there and they say they created something new. Well, yes and no. If the originator wants you to do that, and they freely give it up, which we know that happens, right? There's somebody who says, I want you to have it. I want everybody to have it. Open source is like that. And there's lots of people out there who say, here's my poem, you can use it. Here's my song, use it. That's fine. And I want you to make something new with it, go for it. But if I created a song, and it's my song, and you're going to use even 5 seconds of it, but it's my song, you need to give me credit. I mean, it's my song. I created it. That's my set of notes. That's my thing I put together. Somebody can recognize that those are mine. I believe that the creator owns it. That's my thought. But I'm not a lawyer, right? So.
The third question, would you want someone to answer that? The AI tool recommendations?
Yes,
okay. Okay. Next question.
Can I say one thing more? For me, one thing, because I was watching, this is a question for you. I was watching a couple of days Korean television. I don't know which, but if I'm not wrong, tell me if I'm wrong. I saw the weather presenter generated by AI. Is it true? It was written, generated by AI presenter.
I believe we had a news company that generated weather forecaster and sampled it, I guess, tried their hand at it.
Okay.
I'm not too much, I don't have too much knowledge into it, but.
Because I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
There was a big escándalo with that. There was a big scandal. Sports Illustrated was using a fake reporter, but they were found out and it was a huge scandal and they stopped it. But there was a weather. That happened in the United States. I don't know if it's the same one, but we had a case like that, but they found out it wasn't real, and they had to take it back and apologize, and it was a big scene because they were pretending it was real. That's the thing.
But I can imagine that one day, instead of a real journalist, the presenter will be generated by AI, but the question is, what viewers will prefer, the generated or real people? I choose the second.
Yeah, I think it matters that if you tell people. Now, it would be interesting if you show it, right, that this is an AI-generated person. Will people care? I mean, yeah, will they matter? I think it would.
People, I mean, news groups use Instagram a lot more now to spread their news stories. And I would find comments, not our account, but different accounts, where the news story used an image generated by AI, and you could clearly see it's generated by AI. You could still tell. The comments are usually negative. They don't like it. They would expect a true photo of what really happened in the event that is relevant to the actual article to be used even if it's an Instagram post. I don't know how much that will last, but that's kind of the trend that I witnessed for now.
It's going in media, but in entertainment too. One another story from yesterday. I visited one kind of cosmetic shop at Seongsu. And I'm telling to my Korean friend, she is professor at Korea University, oh, what a beautiful lady at this advertisement. And she's telling me, it's a girl generated by AI. And I was so disappointed. She's not true, this beauty is not true. So maybe it's the hope for us.
in terms of generated human image in South Korea, not only user organizations. So these days, some local governments, like maybe it was province of Jeju, and they are running their own newsroom. So they're mostly they are focusing on their policy, promote their policy, and then so in the past they hired announcers, mostly female announcers, but these days they are making human. AI generated by AI, maybe AI, so almost so natural. So she is reading, and then she is speaking as just like human being, and then just like their policy, yeah, they're announcing their policy. So that was pretty controversial in South Korea.
Okay, for questions, do you still want to? Sure.
Are you telling me or him? Thank you so much. My name is Elita and I'm from Dhaka, Bangladesh. My question is related more with newsrooms and how we practice inside the newsrooms. So this question is actually for anybody who would like to answer. So when we are looking at, say, narrative writing, or when we're looking at long forms in journalism, they still exist. I mean, people still need to, they still go for long form writings and narrative writings. And I'm talking about writing pieces in particular. How would you control the skill, basically, how would you control, maybe control is not the right word, but we know that there are certain jobs that the AI will be doing. What if there are journalists who would ask ChatGPT or use other AI tools to actually get the assignment done? Let me be a little more clear with an example. There are many countries here today, and English is probably not their first language. However, for instance, in my country and also in Korea, we see that there are newspapers and news platforms which are actually run in the English language, right? And that is a second language for most of us, for all of us actually. So what if the assignment is basically done by, it turns out to be that the ChatGPT or the AI tools are being used by the journalists to get the assignments done, if you know what I'm trying to say. It's not only the idea. I can probably give the idea as an input, but then what if I go like, just write me an article on this particular topic, which is in a way cheating. And more we do see that happening in many places. Is this right or is this wrong? What do you think? Should we let the AI tools and other, like ChatGPT and other applications to actually do our writing for us? And this is in particular for narrative writing and long forms, not the other forms of journalism. I can tell you that there are many colleges who take an application of essays for applications, and they're actually using softwares and other AI tools to tackle this particular problem so that they can figure out that the writing is being done by the actual applicant and not AI tools. So do you think there should be something similar in newsrooms as well? First of all, do you think it's right or do you think it's wrong, this particular habit?
Well, I guess in terms of long-form writing, narrative journalism, I guess we can use AI in this part, maybe basically to cover long-form story. Normally, it will take much time. And then, so back in 2024, I was in the United States, and I interviewed some narrative writers. And one of them told me they met hundreds of people, and they obtained so many documents, so many papers. So it was, they told me that it was so hard to organize the interview and the documents. So I simply think in this case, we can use AI. So for example, so the sources might be huge, right? So we can work can be summarization with AI, and then we can get some basic, very important information from enormous sources. And then we can write. So that's what I think about, especially in narrative journalism.
Yes. I can share my personal experience when I'm using AI to writing some long stories, or such as the cover stories or in-depth stories, because that is you need much more information than something like the brief news, something like that. And in the long stories or the in-depth stories, first is I think that we must pay attention to two things. One is that I have an idea to how to write such an article or story, and second is I already have a structure of the stories, and what I should do is to ask ChatGPT or some AI system to help me, such as analyze the documents and to summarize the main idea of the lot of documents for me, and then I can use in my stories. Second is when I using the ChatGPT and AI, and I just use them to like my for the first editor for me, such as we have some similar situation that is English is not my first language, and in China, and we have already our own ChatGPT, I mean the DeepSeek, and it's mean like a Chinese person's thinking. So I will ask it to give me a structure of it, and then I can use it as a editor for me, and to polish my language to make it more like a native speakers, and to better communicate with others. But the most important thing is that what I provided for AI, or the question I ask AI, is first, the core thing is that is a truth, and I can make sure that is I'm double check with the facts and information. And what AI do is just first like a tool to help me, the assistant of mine, to help me to summarize the documents and about numerous information. And second, it can like my language editor or language assistant to make my language much better. I think that is if you have similar situation, and we now the English is not our first language, maybe that will be a option for you to better journalism. Okay.
I agree with you. For me, the best part of GPT, I think for many of you too, is describing interviews which we are recording until this time we need to listen again our interviews and write it again, and it takes so many hours. But I think if you are talking about long forms, for me, currently, of course, there is no possibility that ChatGPT will do our job, because we need to give ChatGPT facts. We should give ChatGPT sentences with ours, people which we interview. So also ChatGPT has got many good parts, because, for example, it can show us, for example, grammar problems, sentences, could check where we are wrong, where we said too much, or maybe every journalist had this problem. For me, is quite a big problem. I wrote too long articles, so I need to shorten it. And then I asked ChatGPT, where can I cut it? It is really helpful. Also in our company, we can use ChatGPT to inspire ourselves. For example, making titles. So in our program where we were writing our articles in the internet, we should give our system 3 different articles that our readers can choose which is for them the better, which is more popular. So then we use ChatGPT. Till then, we should think ourselves what should we write, and it takes a really long time for us. Now we just have a less job, so good for us. We can focus on other things.
Those are interesting. I hadn't thought about the language. That's because my first answer was, of course not. You know, you can't. That's totally wrong. You can't say, here, GPT, write my story for me. Then what's your job? You know, that's ridiculous. But it's an interesting thought that if you're asking it because of another language, I hadn't thought about that. Because I was going to say, especially long-form writing, as an editor, if I'm working with you, it's your voice. So I think I would know if you faked it, because it doesn't sound like you. It wouldn't sound like you. People have a voice. As an editor, I pride myself on helping my reporters keep their voices and not overriding them. Yes, they need help because that's what editors write. We're there to help people with but they got a voice. And so I think that would be important. I can see the value of ChatGPT in you, like you said, you're giving them the question, right? So as a reporter, you're asking them information. You're giving them the information to help you. But you really wrote it in the first place. You're just asking it for help with the English part, right? Because you're saying if you have to present it in English, so now you're asking it, how does it sound better? So it's writing it, but only in English after you already wrote it in Chinese, right?
Actually, I will ask questions both in Chinese and in English, and maybe sometimes they give me the different answers. I mean, that is the main ideas, maybe that is the same, but it's different types in some details. But actually, in China, that is most of the Chinese journalism, and they just ask questions in Chinese and use the Chinese answers. But for China Daily reporters and we will write stories in English. So that's why language is also a kind of like a polisher or editor and make our language much better. And yes,
I can see that.
Yes,
that's different. That's
yes,
a very
different.
interesting idea. Yeah,
yes.
I can see that. But you gave it the question in the first place. Like you wrote it originally in Chinese. I mean, you're asking how to make it sound better.
For such as 400 words of such as a news, brief news, and we just use in English directly to reports. And for long story, maybe I have a structure in my mind first, and then I will ask ChatGPT to give me some Westerners
language, the way they say it,
yes,
the grammar.
Yes, so, and also I ask ChatGPT to, such as if I wrote a story like juvenile crime, I will ask ChatGPT what's the hot issues or what's hot topics about this issue, the juvenile crime in Western countries, and maybe they give me the answers in English, and I can use the Westerners' thinking to write this story. That is more reader-friendly. I know that is because our China Daily is English language newspaper, news media. And one more thing I want to add is that I think that is when we write stories, and two things that are very important. One is that it's when we ask questions to ChatGPT or AI systems, that is what we ask or what we provide them, the information we provided should be the truth. Should be the real facts, the real numbers, and to ask them to collect more information about it and to analyze more accurate or give me much data. So the first is the facts is true. And second, I think that is I'm totally agree with you that you said that is not tell us how to do, but what's wrong in the answers. That is the human judgment. So I think the second important thing is that is the critical thinking. When we check the ChatGPT's answer, we also to challenge it, to challenge them to see that it's what's wrong in it, and then we will first as a journalist or editor, and we should to first distinguish the fake information or fake ideas in the ChatGPT's answer first, and then to make sure our users, our readers can read a true story. Yes.
And you need the quotes, of course. You'll need fresh quotes. And that's what something that the reporter gets, right? The reporter needs to get fresh quotes. Because all ChatGPT is going to give you is something they already said, that they told somebody else. If you don't go out there and get your fresh quotes, what's the point? I mean, you need something. The guy could have changed his mind.
I wish
and
we
then
had
here you
like
are quoting something
about
else.
an hour more so that our
Sorry.
discussion but we have a lot of you guys wanting to ask questions. We have but just 5 more minutes left of this session. So if you could make the question quick and answers quick, I think more people can share their ideas. Sir.
Hello everyone, my name is Ronald from Indonesia. So from the panels, we agree that the AI technology can be sources for collecting the data, especially in journalists. So I have experience in a couple months ago. So I've been joined the law conference in my countries. So one of the professors saying that the judgment of the judge cannot be replaced by the AI because there is a value of the humanity there. So from a lot of the discussions this morning, so is it possible that the outcome of the conference become the law regulations in constitutionals, or maybe in the futures we have the AI checkers because we have a advanced technology country like Korea, China, and the United States. So easily for the journalists to checking the originality of the informations, whether this information is correct or not. So looking forward from your advice. Yeah, thank you.
So you would like to ask if the discussions, could you repeat the question, please?
The outcome of this conference
This
become
conference?
become the recommendations for the government to create the regulations as a constitutional.
I'm sure because there are journalists covering this actual conference to be reported, our views, our discussion will be shared. In Korea, after Europe, as Natalia mentioned, we did pass the AI Basic Act last year, and the promulgation will take about a year. And the government has launched a subcommittee, sub-task force to sort out the details of what actual regulations will go into that law. So we have about a year before the law takes effect. And that's why, as Mr. Hwang mentioned earlier, the journalist groups are making their voices heard. They're petitioning, they're filing complaints and making moves so that the discussion that we're having is delivered to the government, those who are actually making the law, the lawmakers and whatnot. This conference, I'm sure, will also be helpful. Sorry. After him, and then I'll, yeah. In the back.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for giving a chance to be here. I'm really happy to see all knowledgeable and experienced journalists here. I'm from Uzbekistan. My name is Musulman Zio. As a journalist, our main job should be, as all you know, guys, as a journalist, in most cases, we try to inform our public, yes? But it should be better to give attention, more educate them. For example, empowering them to be right. For example, to see, when they see unfair situations, they should have the courage to do something against the government. But in most cases, they want to sit still. Yeah. As a journalist, we know we all have families. We want our peaceful life. Yeah. But we must have some courage. Yeah. And the local people should have the courage to deal with the government. So what to do in this situation? In my opinion, we should try to educate people to be next to us when the government do something against us, to save our rights, to keep our voice up. So what do you think about this? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we all have our families, and I also want to live peaceful life. But sometimes, yeah, our writing or our story might be against our government or some political power. So in this case, you cannot face this problem alone. So I want to focus on united. So we unite as journalists all together, and we can make the same voice, and so just helping other journalists, right? So for example, it doesn't matter which media outlet you work. So if you work newspaper and I work broadcasting system, but we can cooperate together. So we can write same stories in their positions. So that is kind of strong. That could be strong, and as we doing and take action together, we can be very strong. So please remember this.
Okay, last question from the gentleman in the red tie, in the front.
I think I'm loud enough. Thanks for giving me the chance. I'll be very short. It's Tanzim Anwar. I'm from Bangladesh. I do work for our state-owned news agency. I'd like to know, as you all have discussed about the policy regarding using AI in media, as Hong said that, and others, there's even the AI Act. Do you think there should be an universal policy how to AI use in media? Or there should be an international consensus on that? Because media ultimately is a global thing. So what do you think? My first query. The second query, especially to fit is that about the credibility. This is very important about the ethics and credibility regarding the AI. So do you think that using or disclosing or to know, to make audience know that we are using AI, it will enhance the credibility or lose the credibility? My point is, it's kind of organic and inorganic food. When my outlet, I'm disclosing, or I'm using AI to make my report, and I disclose that, and your outlet, you're making report without using AI. What do you think, as a reader, as an audience, they would like to, regarding from the credibility sense of, from the point of view, the credibility, they will think that my one is more credible or your one is more credible? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think for the first question, we can just go with yes or no, and have.
I think so. That is, we should have the international exchanges and make a consensus. I mean, that is, we should make some principles of how to use AI in media, but different countries have different situations. So that is maybe depends on what the AI develops in your country and how the technology is, because the technology is still changing fast. So that's why it's very difficult for Chinese government, that is how it's still seeking a balance between the promoting these technologies and relevant industries, between the industry development and the regulation of this kind of technology. So that depends on the different situations, I think. And also, it's not only, I mean, that it's for media industry. And if we use some in such as the online shopping or some others industry, other fields, and these also have their own associations to make their own regulations. That's my opinion. And of course, the international cooperation and international consensus, I think that is a must.
Thank you. To time restraint, I think the second question, you could quickly answer that.
International would be great, but I think it would take forever to do that. Secondly, I think the truth is always the best. And I think you get more respect from the public if you're true. They're going to doubt the other ones if they don't do it.
Okay, thank you so much, and I apologize for not giving every one of you a chance to state your thoughts and ask questions. This concludes the conference, one of the World Journalist Conference 2025. We will now have a break that has been shortened because the discussion was carried on for 5 more minutes. But please return to your seats by 11:30. Use your time to share your thoughts and ask questions and whatnot. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Seok-ha.
Oh, yes, of course.